I can hear you.
Trump is now president of the United States.
Why are men and boys struggling? And what should we do about it?
In a world of chaos and our attention is being pulled in different directions, the Pursuing Truth podcast is seeking the solution by having authentic conversations that are aimed to impact culture. What's up, everybody? I'm Levi Brickley, your host with the Pursuing Truth podcast. I got my best friend with me, Trent Schneweis, and we've been good friends for like ever. If you guys would, we're just going to sit here, have a general conversation, going to kind of cover some topics about like where he's at in his life, kind of some things, maybe where I'm at. We're just going to kind of share our friendship and how we've developed as men over the last 27 years for Trent. And just kind of go into that conversation. If you guys would, make sure that you subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, and leave an Apple Podcast review, as that will just get more people to listen to these awesome conversations that we have on the Pursuing Truth podcast. Of course, the goal is always to inspire you to be the best person that you possibly can be, all with an emphasis on a Christian worldview. And I know that there's a lot of people that'd be like, "Oh my gosh, you're drinking a beer." Well, here's the thing, man. It's Saturday. The Chiefs played today. Happy we freaking won, man, because that's like so stinking important to me is that we make it to another Super Bowl. But Trent and I have our extreme differences. The man is a Raiders fan,
okay,
and you're like, he's salty about it because. Of course, the Raiders didn't make it to the playoffs in 2022, which I sincerely apologize, man. I can't imagine how hard that must be for you. It's difficult for you. But like I said, we've been best friends forever. Trent went to my mom's daycare growing up. He's just like a little roly-poly, had all these rolls on his arm. And then I moved away from El Dorado for a while. And I moved back in 2008, somewhere in there. And then we rekindled our friendship. We just picked up kind of like, I guess, where we left off when I was an infant, when he was an infant. And life has been great. I mean, Trent's definitely been my one friend that has been consistent throughout, especially my adulthood. But even in high school, I had like two best friends. It was you and Zach, you know. And but let's talk about a little bit about where you're at in your life and where you've kind of come from. Talk about like your family life and upbringing and those things.
Born in Great Bend, Kansas, and we moved over into El Dorado. I was the accident child. Shout out to mom and dad if you see this. But
I feel like most firstborn children are probably accident children.
Yeah.
I know, like with me, that like I wasn't in an accident. My twin sister was.
But just kind of lived in this, I'm going to say crappy city because it's never really had a great effect to me. And graduated high school over here with Levi. We had a little reconciliation freshman year in high school, and we were sneaking out and causing a lot of mischief, but I was always the logical one saying, I don't want to maybe do this. And you and your buddies would go do it, and then I'd have to hear about it later.
And you're like, dang it, I missed out.
Yeah. No, I was like,
you idiots.
That does not seem fun at all. That seems like just bad.
Yeah, I did a lot of bad things, man. I remember your 16th birthday, man. I'm sorry, Chuck. But who leaves their son for his 16th birthday in a house by himself? We're going to throw your freaking sweet 16 at that house, dude. And that's exactly what we did, man. I think it was like the first like real party that.
Oh, yeah. It was like, I can't think of that movie, but it's like playing The Pursuit of Happiness by Kid Cudi.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all like having that house party. and they're all on acid or whatever. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so. I can't remember the name of it though.
Yeah. But then there were scavengers in this town, stole some money from my sister that I had to pay back.
Right. There's always consequences to every action, right? And that was the consequence for us. Otherwise, we wouldn't have got caught, right? We would have got away with it. Or was there a neighbor that let your parents know or something? What was it? Or was it just the money?
Oh, yeah.
How did your parents find out about that party?
Our neighbor was an ex-cop in El Dorado. And then our other neighbor, one that was going through a divorce at this time, so they probably didn't like their lives at the moment. So they went and they fucking reported us for having a fun time. And it's like, man, I'm just trying to enjoy this night.
The neighbors were trying to keep us in line, dude.
Yeah, and I think if they wouldn't have, then, I'd probably have a criminal record.
Yeah, man, like consequences in the time that they happen, they hurt, right? Like we don't want to experience consequences of our actions in the moment. But long term, those consequences affect us so we don't continue making the same mistakes that we were making at that time, right? And I think for us, more so for you, I think that it was like a kind of a little bit of a wake-up call when $300 went missing out of your sister's bedroom, and that had to be made up because of that party.
Yeah, but I was still immature at that age, but I would say that it shifted me towards a different path that boosted my creative side, naming marijuana.
Dude, we both had our time with it. I mean, let's be real. I mean, like I smoked weed from probably 16 to I stopped 3 months after I turned 18. That was the last time I smoked weed. And so like I definitely had my time with it. Mm-hmm. And it had a negative effect on me. It made me crazy. It literally made me crazy. It made me paranoid, which is a side effect to it that a lot of people disregard because a lot of people, they don't experience the psychosis that marijuana can cause. And it caused that for me. I was fearful. I was like, yo, we got to run to the hills because the government is coming for us. You remember those conversations, dude. I mean, it freaked me out.
I remember. Okay, this is funny. Okay, I'm going to throw you under the bus a little bit.
It's all good, man.
I was running with my cross-country team because I'm a psychopath and I like to run. I'm not a psychopath, but I do like to run. I like black coffee also. But I was running and Levi stops with a nameless friend and he gets out of his truck and he's like, dude, I had the biggest fucking theory in this world. Like his eyes are so bloodshot and he's like, dude, the universe is within a universe. It's all within a cell. And I will never forget, like you don't forget sporadic things like that has happened in your life. And I'll forever remember that from you.
Yeah, but there was this other side to us at that time too. Unlike a lot of people that were our age, man, we were running a business on the side. Like how we gathered our weed money and beer money was, dude, we mowed lawns, we painted house. We did anything we had to do to make money, and not specifically to smoke weed and drink, but we did those things because there was a drive in us. There was this like motivation within us. Like we have something to freaking prove, and I think that that's good because you come from a little bit of adversity in regards to like how people treated you. You've always been like a smaller build. You've always been the techie guy, kind of like a little bit geeky or whatever. And I'm not throwing you under the bus by saying that. That's just in your makeup. And so like,
it's me.
So like even getting behind the microphone tonight and like having a conversation, like I can only imagine. I've always been the one that's like, hey dude, let's go out. I'm the one that's like, let's go get sales, and you're just like all about the technical side of it, and I'm just like the common sense drive. You're the technicality, and
we can make $400 this week. If we get another client, we can make like $480. Like just stupid shit like that. But that's how we learn. That was our roots. That was our foundation, man.
And I think it's carried on into our adulthood. But I want to we'll get into more of that. I mean, I think that's the nucleus of this conversation. But I want to continue talking a little bit more about you, because I believe it's important that people know your story as well. And so you graduate high school, man. I'm the guy, 2.3 GPA, barely graduated. I mean, it was basically like coercion to like get them to allow me to walk across the stage with you. But you graduate with honors. You're like 3.8, 3.9 GPA. You go on to Fort Hays State University, graduate with your information services.
Information networking, telecommunications, with an emphasis in web application development.
So there you go. That's what he does now. And you worked for Butler Community College for like 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And you were working in like the nursing department. Talk about like kind of some things that you developed there and those things.
So like I developed the electronic medical administrative record system. I kind of just resurfaced my own version of an EMR, and that impressed them, and they gave me an opportunity to do a like virtual simulation program for them. And I worked as the technology specialist over there, and I took care of the software, the hardware, the networking, like 75 administrative staff, and it just kind of made me crazy after 5 years. And then there was talks about IT trying to come take over my position, and I just didn't really want to work for. I'm defiant to authority. Kind of like, if you don't like let me do it the way that I want to do it, or trust in me enough to do it, this way, I just feel like you're not providing much trust, and it's all
there isn't
controlled.
faith in you to do your job. And
right.
so like you don't feel valued in that job when there isn't faith in you. So So what my question to you, because there's people that would listen to this and would think, especially like older generation, and would think, oh man, those are just millennials talking, like they're entitled, whatever. But like, explain maybe kind of what advice you might give to somebody that's older, where there is that faith put into the employee so that they perform the job to the best of their ability.
So we got to keep in mind here that this is like, we're talking about networking, we're talking about computers, okay? This is different than like handheld mechanics and stuff. Like, this is like actual complex stuff that people have their own opinions on, on how to do things the right way, or the bureaucratic way, or, if that person just kind of comes off as a dick. Like, you're throwing a bunch of factors into one equation, and you're trying to say that a millennial is this way because of that, and you just can't do it with those factors anymore. It doesn't work like that. It's a complex environment that we are associated in,
Well, and look at the career field that you're in, right? Like technology in general. I mean, you look at like from 2010 to 2020, the difference in technology and how much it's developed. there can't be the quote unquote conservative mindset of keeping things traditional within the development of technology. Like it has to constantly be innovating because the cutting edge of current day technology is to get ahead of the curve through creativity.
Yeah.
And so, like, as a millennial, it's extremely good for you as a creative individual to be in a position like that. So how do you develop the creativity? How do you stand out amongst your peers in order to outperform?
My secret with the web development industry is, okay, like my strategy, I'd say, is you have to think of the basis of where you are, like what base you are in right now in your current environment. And then my base is the internet. So this means that if I'm trying to like find ideas of websites that I'd like to make, I just find like the best of the best of a certain niche or a certain problem that I'm trying to solve. I dissect the psychology of the colors. I do search engine optimization to make sure that it can be found on the website. Like there's so much in it that you can find other examples online, curate those examples, like the top 5 examples, and merge them together and make something better. So I feel like capitalism kind of plays a role into innovation and making the next big thing and being competitive and being at like the best of the best, like no bullshit, the best of the best. Like you're that confident in yourself that you can say, I can create that, and you're not being cocky, you're just being confident in your craft. And I feel like creativity plays a role with being confident. If you can be creative and not confident in yourself, and trust me, I've seen it before. There's so many bright people in this world, and they don't talk about how good they can solve a problem or anything.
How that's so what
Sorry,
what I dude, I've had this on my mind a lot lately. Like when I think about developing confidence, because I think that's been one of the things in developing the Pursuing Truth podcast platform and now Bricked Up Country podcast platforms, is like this development of internal confidence. Like I may be sitting across the room from somebody who is an extreme professional at what they do, and inside of me, I feel like a novice at asking questions and having conversation and developing myself in communication. So like inside myself, I'm asking this question, like, how do I develop my confidence where I don't feel so offset from this person that I may be talking to? And how do I become comfortable? And I always say this, man, and this is the thought that I've had, is that confidence is developed through a series of proven actions that has proven to be successful. Right. And I think for you, especially, like if you're writing code on a computer, like you're going to fail time and time again. Like if you fix this part, then this part is messing up. Right.
Not if you write confidential code, not if you do unit tests and stuff and make sure that all edge cases are taken care of.
But you only know that based on a series of proven actions that has proven that you can develop this code in the right way so that you're not backtracking back to the initial issue, right?
In a way, like it can get more complex than that. Like you could update a software dependency on a program that you have, and it could create unknown side effects to your application. They could have published it as a version that was a patch update, but it was actually a breaking change. you didn't know that. You took their word that it was a patch update, and you're
And what you
chasing
mean
your
by
tail.
like what you mean by a patch is like a quick fix.
Yeah, so you know how like it's called semantic versioning. So you know how you see like 1.0.0
Yeah.
or
Well, of course,
1.0
I don't
dot
understand any of the code,
what?
but
But you know how when you see a version, it says like 2.0.4.
yeah. Yeah, I think we're on like, what is it? Apple update 14.2 or
Okay,
something, iOS 14.2 or whatever.
yeah. So when it goes to 13 to 14, that means there is a breaking change. Since this last version of Mac. Like there's a breaking change. Like when you update this, expect there to be breaking changes of the features that you had on version 13. So it's a very useful way of basically developing a language to other software engineers of, hey, this version right here is probably going to fuck you up if you update a little bit. So make sure that if you update, then you'll probably have to update your software version.
Right. Or maybe your hardware. Because like I remember this, like the iPhone 4 and like all these new updates started coming out. Like the iPhone 4 operated great under its initial iOS software. And then like as these updates started coming out, now it's like, dude, why is my phone glitching? And it's because these updates, the hardware itself is incapable of being able to handle the software itself with the new update.
You
And
got to get me started on Apple, don't you?
well, and you know I operate everything out of Apple. But one more thing, Trent moved on to a new company after Butler, and you now work for. Talk about your new job, man. Talk about where you're at right now.
I started as a software engineer over at a NetPay Advance, and it is a loan company. But this company gave me a chance. And, well, I wouldn't say the company, the recruiter, my boss, Eric Cobble, he was a great mentor, and he saw that I was hungry and that I was willing to learn and that I have a passion and a drive for this shit. And they hired me. And you know, from his derived like leadership and everything, it's kind of made me who I am today. Just like a few months ago, he had resigned from the company, and another senior software engineer took his place, and he's honestly like it makes like Eric leaving is not good, because Eric was like he just was a really good person to be. He's like a friend, a boss, a mentor. You could tell him anything. You could tell him not to tell, like you just want to vent, and he won't go tell the team. He's just that great of a leader. And I hope he understands that he's meant to be a leader, because something happened.
So what's what's your current position? So you kind of started like base level, and then now what are you?
So I'm a senior software engineer, and I oversee 5 people of the front end for NetPay Advance, and then we have Infange. Okay.
So you said Eric was a mentor for you, and Eric was a mentor for you in the beginning. You said he was he the recruiter?
Yeah, he was.
Okay, so like when you were applying for this job, and how did he interact with you where you felt comfortable on your approach to the interview so that you could potentially get the job?
I recorded like my whole interview that I had with him, because I felt like that knowledge would be useful. And the reason why I say that is because I retraced back to that interview to kind of see how I reacted, and things that he asked me. And he just kind of asked me. He's like on the technical side of things, and then he had the director ask me like the interpersonal things, which I kind of failed.
So wait, had you talked to Eric prior to the interview?
No.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I was like,
so how did he make you? Because I think this is important, and it's something that I personally resonate with, and that's the reason why I'm asking this question, because it's something I want to get into, because I work for a great leader right now.
Yeah, dude, working at.
And
comparison.
the great leader that I'm talking about was also a mentor for me. But on my approach to the job, he made me feel comfortable in going into the interview, feeling confident. And so in the interview, how did Eric make you feel confident?
Well, honestly, I'm not that way with really. I don't have that ability. I don't feel with people that I meet. I have this sense of anxiety, like not to trust anyone, unfortunately. So it kind of takes me to like, it's like a risk thing with me. I'll give my all in an interview, but still not feel comfortable in it no matter what. Hopefully that changes. But when, it takes time and time and time and time, personal interaction, just kinesthetic learning practices with my mentor, and just to kind of like read him or her by what they're trying to tell you.
What they're trying to tell you and what they're doing with their actions. You know, how are they interacting with you? When my chief, current chief, he wasn't the chief at the time, but when I applied for this job in law enforcement, I remember specifically he reached out to me and gave me a call, and we sat on the phone for 20, 30 minutes, and we just talked. And so like there was this relationship developed even before the interview. And then he was telling me, like, Levi, this is what to expect in the interview. I'm not telling you what to say, but these are some things that we're looking for. So these are some things to be cognitive of as we ask these questions. And so he kind of coached me through it. And I think too that this is something great about my chief was he has an ability to see through a person and see if they're a good quality person for our department. So he came alongside me and coached me through that and kind of gave me some pointers of what to look for. And I think that is the definition of a good quality leader.
Yeah.
Because they're like, dude, I got you, and this is what I expect of you.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't, and it's never been like I feel pressured being around him because the way that was opened up, right? Mm-hmm. And one thing I haven't talked to you guys about on the podcast is I recently accepted a new job. I will no longer be in law enforcement. I am transitioning into the private sector. And throughout the last 3 years of working with my department, working with my chief, has always been this ability, man. I've had this like serious struggle throughout my 20s, like waking up late all the time, man. I like to the degree that I have went and bought a shock watch, literally like a shock collar, that I set an alarm on my phone and it shocks me awake.
Yeah.
And but there was one thing, man. I'm in my exit interview a week and a half ago, just with my chief, like just my notice, verbal notice to him that I'm going to be putting in my resignation. And he says to me something that really spoke to me immensely. Was, Levi, one thing that I admire about you is that you've always taken responsibility when you've made mistakes.
Yeah.
And for example, like every time I was late coming into work, It wasn't like, oh, I got a flat tire. My car wouldn't start, this and that.
You were honest all the
I
time.
was honest, dude. I was like, man, chief, dude. And not even to my chief. It wasn't about my chief. Here's the thing. Man, it wasn't about my chief. We work minimum staffing. We got 3 guys that got to be on the streets at all times. And so if I wake up an hour and a half late, the implication is that now my coworker is going to have to stay over late and spend time away from his family because my inability to wake up. And that's utterly pathetic. And there's no excuse for why I'm failing in that criteria of my life. And I would go to that person first and I'd be like, dude, I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. Like, this is a serious problem that I'm working on.
Yeah.
There was never this like ego of like, put on this facade like everything's fake. It's like, be real with people, dude. And I would go to my chief and I'd have the same conversation. I was like, you know, I didn't ever want this to happen, but this is what happened. And just own that. And he admired that about me, man. And that spoke volumes to me, you know?
Yeah. I call that like personal brownie points, you know?
Yeah.
Like things when, say you're late for work, but your boss isn't there working from home, but you let them know anyways. You know, it's just character. It's it just kind of blows my mind how people don't really necessarily try. It's very rare to see that, like when people just try to not try, essentially.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is they put in so much hard work into doing the thing that they love and what their passion is, but they lack on seeing the future, seeing like, could what I'm doing right now like make me show that I'm a responsible person and maybe get better privileges or better opportunity in the future because I'm showing that I care. I'm showing that I did this. And
on point, dude.
Yeah.
And that's what he added to it, was that like, I know that you care.
Yeah.
And that is vital to anybody's success. Dude, there are so many people that do these podcasts and so many people that you see on YouTube that are trying to shove some type of like marketing, sales product down your throat and putting on this facade of, I'm a millionaire, I've done this, I've done that. And there's all this facade of ego that they present themselves to you. And the problem is with that is that it strips away from people like me, where it's like, dude, I'm here to have a conversation with you. I'm here to be real with you. Like, you want to be successful in that business. You want to be better at marketing. You want to be better at sales. Be responsible. That is key. Don't be fake to people. Be real to people. And let me tell you this, man. I don't just say that because I think this way. Dude, it's been proven through my actions, man. When I ran the cornhole business, man, I'm busting out sales, dude. In 3 months, man, I made 16 grand busting my tail, pumping out 50 sets of cornhole boards out of a 1-car garage and making sales, doing all the marketing, doing all the social media optimization, everything from top to bottom, going to tournaments on the weekend and selling products to people, interacting with people and developing quality communication and relationships with people and doing business to business sales, man. You want to talk about how to be motivated and develop yourself as an individual? Don't listen to these whack jobs that are like, I'm a millionaire, I get all these sales, I'm the most motivational person ever. I've never had to present myself that way. But I know that when I get behind this microphone, dude, that I can be confident that I have proven myself through a series of actions that has proven to be successful over a time period. And so many people miss that, man. And I feel build up, man. I'm yelling at the mic right now. But I feel this deep in my soul, man, because when I see those people, man, I'm just like, dude, you're fake.
Right. Yeah, like you don't care about your product, dude. And that's like I have two I would say potential two I have one serious side business and one potentially side business remaining unnamed on the potentially good one because I don't want you guys stealing my idea. But one that's Wealthy Hustler, and I just teach people how to make money online. And I just I don't want to put just a little bit of effort into a method when I'm giving it out. And it's so hard to like go back onto your YouTube and see that like my content that I put out is like so it's life changing. And when are you gonna put your next thing out, dude, and stuff?
You're talking about like reciprocation and the people that like follow what you do. And like when they comment, they're like, dude, when are you putting your next thing out?
I just kind of see it as like a creative. I think it's like a creative thing. I've noticed that like I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Post Malone or someone just quits doing music for a bit. You know, I just feel like it's just if you can't put your all in it, don't do it at all type thing. Like it's an art. You look at it as an art. You don't look at it as a business. You look at it as like, this is like, I'm putting a dent in the universe with this shit.
Yeah.
This shit, I'm putting my full energy in this. I'm not going to sell a course and take advantage of just a little bit of people for this opportunity when, you know, I could, you know, make the best platform that anyone's ever seen.
Yeah.
In this world.
And I think too here, and I think that this is vital, because like obviously, man, I've spent $5,000 on the studio. You know, I've spent money on these microphones. I spend time in the studio, and like, what's the reciprocation to the investment that I put into it and all this time? And
you're
it's not
touching so many people.
And so that's the thing. Like, where do I find value in that? Like, what's the reciprocation to me? What drives me to continually show up, to get behind this microphone and click record? What drives me? And that's it, dude.
Yeah.
When I get a message that says, man, that conversation you had with that guy, with that girl, that changed my whole perspective on life.
It's a great feeling.
So there's this like value, but there's also this other thing to it, man. And this is the thing that I have loved so much about podcasting is my ability to relate with people, my ability to communicate with people, my ability to dig deeper into the conversation and interview people. And dude, I mean, it's like before we got going, I said, dude, just relax. We're just going to have a conversation, man.
Relax, I don't relax.
Yeah, but you seem relaxed now. You seem laid back now.
Because I drank a few beers.
just got to get a few in you just to kind of like make you loose. But
unfortunately,
but I mean, that's a side effect of alcohol. That's what it does. It kind of loosens you up. But no, for real though, that's like the number one thing for me though, is like, that's what I've learned is that like, not that I'm the best at what I'm doing, but kind of like what you were saying, dude. You recorded that interview with Eric. Mm-hmm. And you were able to go back and watch it and say, like, I need to be better here.
Yeah.
And so, like, the podcast has been that for me. It's like everything I say in that moment at that specific time is something that I can develop and grow on. And that whole conversation piece can be a whole nother episode. And it's like, man, I can dig deeper into that. I can elaborate on that. I need to articulate that better. I need like all of this stuff. Like, you want to talk about self-development. You want to talk about being successful in some type of business. Like, strive to get to where you want to go. And in the process, be able to go back and reflect on the mistakes that you've made.
Right. Fail.
Exactly, dude.
And fail about a couple 300 more times.
Like, you know how it feels for me
Times 2.
knowing that like the overwhelming majority of people come to the Pursuing Truth podcast platform and they're like, I got to listen to that very first episode. And you know they're scrolling through 73 stinking episodes to get to number 1. And when they get to number 1, it's this man that's going through a very depressed state and is trying to find something that's going to drive him beyond the depressed and anxiety-driven state. And so, like, there's this nervousness when I'm behind the microphone. There's this inability to articulate my thoughts in a way that's relational with people. And so the person that scrolls all the way back to that first episode, they're not going to make it to episode 73. The part that's like, wow, I got that. I felt that.
Yeah. But I think that you should keep it on there, dude. Because, look, technology's good, all right. But we got to show where our roots are. And there's not enough of that going around. You know, there's people being made up and just edited the fuck up. And there's no way to see where that person started. A newcomer might think, hey, I need to start this way.
Yeah.
And in a way that's good, that might filter out some bad apples from good. But who knows if one of those bad apples was a creative and could have potentially created something
Great.
Yeah.
And if they went back to episode 1 and then they listened to episode 73, they skipped all the in between, they'd be like, holy cow, I can do that too.
Exactly.
But it takes time to get there.
Yeah.
And it really does, man. Like when I started this whole thing, like I've always had the computer. I've always had the camera. I pretty much always had the microphones. But just like the hours that I would spend in here in the studio trying to figure out how to optimize it to the best of my ability, dude. Mm-hmm. I know that I spent over 12 hours studying that stinking camera. And I'll tell you this right now, dude. I still don't understand it. I still don't understand the damn camera.
Fuck.
You're like, so this is where you're yeah. So this is where, like, you know, your innate want to help. You know, you're like, dude, let me look at it. I can figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. So you brought that up. But I don't know, just ever since I left Butler, I really don't like helping. Like, it kind of burnt me out in that element. I do love helping my friends and family, don't get me wrong, but like, you know, like when I'm over at like when people know that I'm a software engineer, they're like, oh, well, you can do this, right? You know, oh, make sure you go stop by Shannon's before you leave, you know, Missouri, to go fix their fucking printer. And it's like, dude, you're kind of like taking advantage of me here, and you're taking advantage of my niceness. You know I'm gonna do it. You know I'm not gonna say it's not worth my time, because it is worth my time. And like, I was talking to my boss about this the other day. We're trying to migrate to a certain platform. I can't give much information about our infrastructure, but we're trying to migrate to a certain platform. And he asked all of us to stay on that chat and have a test meeting, make sure what needs to be tested, and we all test it together as a team to help him out because he's running behind. We said, okay. And we started that process at 9 a.m., ended it at fucking 5 p.m. And then my boss, he's like, man, he's like, I'm very hesitant to kind of start interviewing because it's just hard to find character like that. It's hard to find a team that actually cares and will voluntarily stay for 8 hours straight, only take a lunch break to help you out with your program, deem it worthy of their time, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a bit of a kind of a Southern charm thing, but that's really all I've seen it with. So
Yeah.
it might be another phenomenon, but I truly think it's a phenomenon, and I think that it's it's
Well,
tapping into our emotions.
when I hear you say that, man, I instantly go to like how my immediate supervisor and I have this relationship with one another, and how like we work so well together is because we both have the same philosophy and the same goal in law enforcement. So our approach to work is the same. So we work great together. And so like a great leader, let's say that a new person comes onto that team, a great leader is able to sell the philosophy of what the goal is to achieve within that business, within that organization.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one thing, dude. Dude, 5 years in law enforcement, man, that's one thing I've learned so much is just this idea of like selling that image and getting people on board with what you want, but that's through effective communication and quality relationship building.
Yeah, so over my job, we have an opportunity, and we just kind of go together as a team, and it's called Buy Test, and it's I can't think of what it means because I'm not that sharp with communication, but it means that we need to learn new things every month or
Mm-hmm.
every other part of the year. And say something like a big hype was atomic design in the web development industry, and I brought that to the table for the team. And then say Eric would talk about domain driven design and present that to the team, what the benefits of that are. And then, it goes on and on. And then it turned out that only like Eric, Naveen, which is my other coworker, and we're like the we're like the only one, like we're the teachers of the group. Like the other people in our group are great, exceptional, and I love working with them. But it's kind of like something that all the bosses and I have talked about is like, man, like you guys are the only ones that bring this stuff to the table, and we really understand the benefits of it. Next time when someone asks you who wants to do buy test this next week, don't volunteer because they need to. And it just kind of it separates the teachers from the students.
So yeah, so what you're saying is like, and this is one thing I think about often is like we all kind of like have our
Back to schools, what the acronyms.
but we all have this like innate like we want to serve people, but oftentimes we struggle to allow people to serve us, right? And so that's kind of what you're doing there is you're like you already or I already have it figured out. Let them figure it out. Okay? Let them
You're
learn
trying
it.
to bring it to the team, like you're trying to sell your idea to the team, basically.
Oh, okay. Then I misunderstood kind of what you were saying.
Yeah, so like say there's a new thing that's happening in the software development industry, like testing or something, or like continuous integration tests. You'd explain what it is to the team So I took that as an opportunity, like I learn by teaching, and
Oh, me too.
that can be good and that can be bad, because you don't want to teach someone wrong. But I would do my best to learn, and I'd put a lot of effort into these. Like, I'd basically make like a curriculum and talk about this one thing, and it would eventually like get adopted, like everything that we would talk about, and it would change our quality of service we put out because we're willing to get to that point.
Because now what you've taught everybody, they all understand now, so you guys operate better as a team.
Yeah.
Dude, I want to talk about like kind of like what we did, kind of like our roots and what motivates us so much, man. Like, let's talk about this small town, dude. You feel comfortable with that?
There's not much that motivates me about this small town.
I think I don't think that's true. As your best friend, I don't think that's true.
With me?
Yeah, with you. I don't think that's true. And the reason why I say that is because
I get that.
Because there's this like negative notion that you have towards this town where I'm going to prove you guys wrong. Every person in El Dorado, Kansas, I will prove you wrong. Watch me.
Yeah.
And I mean that in my soul, dude.
I feel that too.
Because man, I've loved this town to the degree that I was willing to invest into it.
Mm-hmm.
I buy a house here. I thought I'd raise a family here.
Mm-hmm.
Then at 27 years old, I have a wake-up call. Man, I apply for the local police department after 4.5 years in law enforcement.
Yeah.
And I get denied after a previous denial at the same department.
Yeah.
And then they're calling me in the last 2 weeks. I've had 2 calls. Hey, man, you want to come work for El Dorado? Hell no, I don't want to work for you. Yeah. You are the epitome of the reason why I want to get the hell out of here. You gave me a wake up call. And like, there's this drive inside of me like, dude, you watch. You know the reason why I didn't get the job last time?
Dude, it's probably some small-minded bullshit.
Yeah, hear this, dude. So I was like in this transition phase here on the Pursuing Truth podcast platform. And they asked me, Levi, what's your 5-year goal? Well, my 5-year goal is to be a patrol sergeant, work in the streets.
Actually be something in life.
5 years. 5 years. You know, I gave them 5 years. I said 5 years is what I want to do. Then they want to elaborate on that. Okay, what's your 10-year goal? I said my 10-year goal is to establish my platform to the degree that I'm completely self-sufficient.
And I remember that.
And they denied me from getting the job because I said that I want to be something more than just a patrol officer.
Goddamn creator.
Yeah, they're like, dude, my expectation of you in El Dorado, Kansas is to stay in this box.
Yep.
Do not step outside of this box.
Very toxic too.
It is toxic as hell because every part of you as an individual, absent of law enforcement, I don't care what you do.
Any human
Your
being.
job as a human being is to get outside of that box because that is the true innovative side of us as human beings and how we develop as individuals is getting outside of that box. And that's only done through our creativity and a series of actions that develops our confidence in order to get outside of that box. They didn't give me that job because I said I was going to get outside of that box. They said, oh, if I can't expect 10 years out of them, then I don't want them. What a small-minded, pathetic, selfish mindset. And you know what? The guy that they hired over me, guess what, man? That was 9 months ago. I was in that interview. He's gone.
Well, duh. They crawled back to you. Know that they knew that they.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we made a mistake. You know why? Because you got these like HR people, man. You got these HR people. They're like, oh, I
in
just
El
don't
Dorado,
know.
though, dude.
Yeah, dude. And so like,
They don't
here's
give
the
a
other
fuck.
thing, man. Here's the other thing. mean, you get these people that like have so much ego because they got like some position within a small town. You know, like, oh, I'm HR with the city of El Dorado. Like, big freaking whoop. I don't care what you are. I don't care if you're freaking Joe Biden. I don't care if you're the president of the United States. You know what? Each leader is just as sinful, as imperfect, and ill-equipped in a lot of things in their life as I am.
Right, dude. And it takes a true leader to talk about that. Like, it's more easy. It's easier to be arrogant than it is to be a true leader.
Yeah, because what arrogance says is, let me put on this facade of confidence to you.
I can do that all day, but I know, well, I honestly probably couldn't do that all day because I lack the social confidence to do that. And that's all right.
And you know, I want to have this conversation 6 months ago about El Dorado. But there's been something in me over the last 7 months, man. And this really comes back to like whole relationship, depression, anxiety, and all of that stuff, man. There was this like breaking point in July for me after a year and a half of depression, a year and a half struggling with getting over my ex. And finally she texts me after a year not talking to each other. And she says, hey, how are you doing? It's like 1, 2 in the morning. And I was feeling at the time like, I'm feeling it, like it's coming. Not for her to talk to me, but for me to get over this. And I felt that coming. Then she texts me. And I'm like, hey, I'm doing great. How are you? She doesn't text me back. 4 days go by. And I'm like,
because
hey.
she wanted to see, hey.
Yeah, she wanted to see if I was still in her. I don't know what it was, man. I don't know what it was. But regardless, man. I was like, hey, why did you text me? I want to know why you text me. Well, there's this mirror in your attic that I would like you to ship out to California for me, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, come on. That's not the reason why you texted me. That just doesn't make sense. No reply. So I had this letter that I had written in May. Mind you, again, this is July. I'd written this letter in May that I was like seriously considering sending to her. And I was like, you know what? She reached out to me. I'm just going to articulate this letter into a text message. You can call me crazy, whatever. Call me stupid. But me pressing send on that text message and articulating my feelings and my thoughts, dude, that was like, bro, I'm free. I'm free. All of this barrier that's been holding me back from pushing me beyond is gone. It's lifted. And I think that you see that also in the platform. And I think for me personally, you know, going back to kind of like what I was talking about, how this platform has developed me individually so much, is that I can see it in the way that I'm talking and the way that I carry myself. Not even just here, but also professionally. Every aspect of my life, like that's just totally changed. Like the push is like, love yourself, love yourself, love yourself. It wasn't about me loving myself. It was about me knowing where I want to go. And allowing all of the mistakes to be put behind me, forgiving myself, and knowing that I want to become the best man that my future wife could potentially ask for. And so every step that I've made in this process has been for that reason. And it kind of maybe sounds immature, you know, saying, doing this all for my future wife, whatever. But I think that's something special for us men. Like women motivate us, right? And I think that it's the key to our motivation. And the reason why I say it's the key to our motivation is because I think each one of us need meaning in what we do and why we do what we do. And we need to feel that somebody validates what we do. And the way they validate us and what we do is by being there alongside us and cheering us on as we are being creative and going out and being motivated and achieving the goals that we want to achieve.
Yeah.
And so, like, the woman for us men is just that. I come home and I'm like, man, look at what I built for us. Look at what we built together. And she's just as much a part of it as me.
Yeah.
And she's just as much, even absent of her today, she's just as much a part of it today, man. And it's like I look so forward to that. But right now I get to focus where I'm at.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing.
It is.
And dude, that's just like the coolest thing, like in all of our development as adults, man, and as men. Like, we get to experience that internal growth. She could call me today, man, and I could turn her down.
Mm-hmm.
She could call me today and I could also say, let's do it. Like, I'm a different man today.
Yeah.
You know?
It's understandable.
And so there's this other side, like the beginning of that, like, it also got me to this point of when I talk about El Dorado. I do not care. I care about you, and I want what's best for you, and I want you to come alongside me, and I want to grow together, but I know that you in this small town are more than likely incapable of doing so because you're stuck in this small town mindset that makes you incapable of pushing beyond all the drama that you experience here. And me, I've grown past it to the degree that I do not care what the HR at El Dorado thinks. I don't care what the city government thinks. I thought I would serve you. I thought I'd be a commissioner. I thought I'd be a mayor for this town. Well, you know what? Now I maybe get to be a senator for the state of Arizona. I don't know what it is. I seriously don't know what it is. But I know that I am going to do great things with my life.
Right. Yeah, don't limit yourself to this town.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people do. They limit themselves to that, like, small group, that small mentality, man.
Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of that stems to like having kids.
Yeah.
At a young age, that, like, and when you put your kids through kindergarten or like first, second grade, you don't want to necessarily relocate because they made friends. I mean, that's what my family value has always been. Like, my dad, he would talk about new opportunities and stuff, and then my mom would kind of bring it up and be like, do we really want to do that to Trent? Do we really want to enroll him in circle, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Then he'd really have, like, no one to talk to, you know? So,
Well, thank God you stuck around, dude.
yeah, or I'd be like fucking, it'd be bad.
I mean, here's the thing, dude. With every negative, it's a matter of perspective to take positivity out of it.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, like, here we are, dude, all this adversity, right, that we experience in this small town. Irregardless of the adversity, it's a driving and motivational force for us to be successful.
Yeah.
And not only that, dude, if you would have moved away, like, if it was like, oh man, Trent's having a really hard time with, like, these kids at school, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Like, then you and I may not be friends.
Exactly. Your path can change.
Yeah. And so, like, there's like even purpose in the midst of suffering and adversity is like, dude, I'm going to take this and I'm going to wear it.
Yeah. Like, one little thing can change 1,000 other things. That's just fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Like, if you would have, I don't know, crawled a different way, it could have made me
Go a different way.
go a different way. And then, like, because I wasn't at that place at that time, it didn't cause me to do this thing and this thing, which led me to fucking wreck my bike, you know?
So let's just have like just end it on a real quick philosophy conversation. Is there a purpose?
Yeah, I think there is. My kind of philosophy of it all is I'd say it's like hybrid hippie and scientific. Like, there's one thing that doesn't really change, and that's the law of like motion and
Gravity.
electricity, gravity, all these things. And I feel like, we have to consume calories to exert energy. And I feel like the constant force in humans is energy. And as people die, there will be more energy that kind of surfaces around the world. And I just kind of have like a scientific theory about it.
I guess I don't really look at it that way. I mean, I think about my dad dying and my grandpa dying and all my grandparents. Shoot. Like, it's not so much that their energy was transferred into me, but like it gave me more energy. Not necessarily because it was transferred into me, but like, man, one thing my dad used to always tell me is like, your last name is a legacy. And you're mine. Like, you're my last name, dude. You're a Brickley, man. And make me proud, you know, with my bloodline. And so like there's I guess there's energy, there's like a moving force behind that like I want to make him proud, even though he's not watching.
I'm talking like a magnetic effect, like.
No, I know, I understand what you're saying.
Like law of attraction, but not as cringe as the name sounds like. Call it what you want. I feel like more people like
whatever amount of what you're saying is whatever amount of energy that individual person had, that is recycled back into the world. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, to other people's wants and desires, like call it for what it is. But I started this thing when I went on a run. Like I have this thing where I say what I'm gonna be, and I would always I'd scream, I'm a senior software engineer, I'm a millionaire, I am wealthy, I'm healthy. And people probably would think I'm crazy, but I feel like the amount of energy that you put out on something that you want harnesses, it either it makes you motivated or it actually just kind of clicks something in the back of your mind as far as I'm going to get this shit.
Yeah. Well, and so that's so you hit on multiple key parts of that. So there's this self-belief. There's this I'm going to be a software engineer. Yeah. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to do all these things. That is not possible without action. And that's my problem with law of attraction. It's not just self-belief and telling yourself that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's proving it through action that it's going to happen.
Well, if you don't believe, you're basically telling yourself you don't believe in that you can do that if you don't take the action.
Dude, I'll be honest, man. When I started this platform, I didn't believe. Okay. Some days I still don't know if I believe. So I don't think the basis of it is belief. I think that the basis of it is continually pursuing, acting, and through that, belief is developed. And that's my problem with law of attraction is I just don't think that you can believe it into existence.
I'm not saying.
I mean, and I'm not trying to get into an argument with you on it or anything. I'm just thinking out loud on it.
I just go off like I used to be kind of molded by what other people think, but I know like this shit works for me. I've tested it. I've had like a lab with this shit. Like I like no like for a whole year I would not tell myself affirmations and stuff, and then I'd document how I feel and what had happened. But then say on another year I would just do affirmations. And it just works for me.
Yeah.
It might be a confidence issue that I lack, and affirmations help me, but I just like the I like the I can't think of the word, but the reasoning for it.
I think that's something I think it's a key difference between you and I is that I have a sense of ignorance with my confidence.
And I feel like that kind of harnesses with the amount of energy that you can put out. I feel like with like introverts or whatever, like there might be some energy that they're harnessing because they don't really usually put it out. So they can put it out on their next idea, or they can put it out on an affirmation and manifest something faster than, say, someone that thinks, that their shit don't stink. And I'm not saying that you don't think that way.
Yeah.
But
no.
I'm saying that
dude, I'm so
like,
real about like my mistakes and everything. Yeah.
It's
I'm
like
definitely not.
Think of it like a beacon, like a laser beacon, where it's all building up, all in the inner soul. And you just, you're kind of afraid to talk to anyone, but you want to do this idea.
And that's the reason why I chose ignorance. Is because like I'm ignorant to the point that I'm going to ignore what my problem is and push beyond it. Even though I know what it is, I'm going to ignore that inadequacy that I know of. And I'm going to look past it.
That's
but I'm aware of it.
Ostrich syndrome.
And what?
It's called something like ostrich syndrome. It's with
there's a fucking syndrome for everything, ladies and gentlemen.
No. It makes sense because like an ostrich buries his head in the sand, so the ostrich doesn't know what's going on around him. It's pretty clever, but it's called like ostrich syndrome if you don't like look at your bank account. Yeah, because you're afraid to. You got your head buried in the sand. You don't want to see. But
I think something is important there. Like if you talk about ostrich syndrome, I've never heard that, dude. I thought it was like a legitimate medical term, not a philosophical term.
It's not called ostrich syndrome, but I don't remember.
No, but that's ignorance to your surroundings. And what I'm saying is like I'm ignorantly confident in regards to like, I know where I'm inadequate, but I'm going to continue trudging through this so that I can develop it.
Yeah. Okay.
So like, I know my surroundings, but I'm going to become better at it because that's what I want to do. And I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah, you got the confidence in yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's the key, like self-belief. Yeah. The key to it is that even if you don't feel equipped today, you know that you can prove it to yourself eventually by continually acting upon it.
Yeah, and seeing a result, definitely.
Oh, dude, results
like
are everything.
Motivation. Oh my God.
And that goes back to those messages that I receive, and saying that like it's impacted me this way. Like that tells me keep up the good fight, Levi. Keep going, dude.
Right.
Because I believe in you. Man, I got this awesome friend in Arizona. Her name's Faye. And she calls me all the time. And, we talk about what we're going to talk about on the podcast. And I'll tell her, like, I don't feel like that confident right now. Like, I just don't feel good about it. And she'll be like, Levi, this is going to blow up. This is going to be great. And, like, I would have never
that can
met
be dangerous, though.
Yeah, well, it can be because you could also be ignorant with it too.
Well,
right?
the other person could be ignorant too.
Well,
you got two.
Well, so then that's where like I know that her and another few people are impacted by the things that I talk about here.
Yeah.
And it's not disingenuous her saying that because she tells me why it's impacted her, why it's impacted my buddy Dalton, why it's impacted these people that I've met from all over the country.
Yeah, that's
that
a
I would have
beautiful thing.
never met absent of doing this. You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's another driving force. You know, when you talk about purpose, just wrap it up here. When we talk about purpose, when we talk about developing relationships, when we talk about personal self-development, when we talk about professional development, the key thing in all of it is almost having that sense of ignorance and still going forward to prove to ourselves that we can do it. And it's important that we have those people around us that encourage us to become what we want to become within our lives. Do you disagree?
Yeah, on the ignorance part, I do. Like, because I feel like you're not being entirely ignorant. Maybe it's because I'm all in my feelings.
And maybe
a lot, but,
and maybe that's the wrong terminology.
yeah, okay.
And maybe that's just the wrong terminology.
Like
but
just going for it, hustling.
Semetics, but
Is that what you're meaning?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's grit.
Mhm.
You know, it's grit.
You either got it or you don't. There's consumers and there's producers.
Yeah. Well, dude, anything else you want to say after like 2 hours of this podcast?
Bush Light, if you want to sponsor me,
Contact Levi.
contact Levi, but just know that I'm invested in your company. And
I'm currently
actually,
no
that would
longer
mean
invested
I'm
in this
sponsoring
can.
you.
Yeah, something like something like
Would
that.
Okay. I don't know.
But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with my best friend Trent Schneweis. I feel like it went well. I had a good time.
Oh yeah.
I love getting behind the microphone and just having a conversation with anybody and everybody. So if you'd like to be a guest on the Pursuing Truth podcast, feel free to reach out to me. Still operating under the Veritas 2021 podcast at gmail.com is our email. Links will be in the bottom of the description. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, you name it. I'm there. Make sure you click follow on Spotify so that you're notified when a new episode comes out. And please leave that Apple Podcast review. Like, that comes back to like that reciprocation, the whole commenting. It's not that I'm looking for validation. It's just that it reminds me to keep up. Keep it going. Keep it going. And it also gives that conversation to new people. Subscribe on YouTube, and you guys have a great rest of your week, and God bless.